I threw her phone against the wall. I gave her 2 middle fingers like Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know how the wizards in Harry Potter each have their own wand? Our teachers each had their own cane.
Can you describe what your house was like when you were growing up?
The house I grew up in was a very open-air house in Malaysia and Borneo. My main memory from it is cold, hard floors. Like if you tripped in a Malaysian house, that was you were over. Is the last thing you ever saw. My father designed it himself. My father's an engineer. He built it to look like a tree.
How do you think your parents would describe you as a child?
As a child, my parents described me as well-behaved. I was a very good boy. Up until adulthood, I really stuck to the rules. I was very skinny and then very fat. I think it was kind of funny. I think I tried to be funny. And then I went to Chinese school, and that just killed that side of things. And it took me until my teenage years to rediscover funniness.
Why did Chinese school take that funniness out of you?
Chinese school is very brutal. Very hard rules and corporal punishment. So I'd get caned at school. Each teacher had their own cane made of rattan. You know how the wizards in Harry Potter each have their own wand? Our teachers each had their own cane. You know, I don't know if they named them. I think that would have been fun, like Bruiser and stuff like that. Your Malay class would start, or your Chinese class would start, math class would start. Your teacher would come in, they walk in with their cane and they set it up against the wall next to them. And you say, "Good morning, teacher." And then you all sit down. And it was always there. The cane was always there to remind you that if you stepped out of line, you'd get caned. It's quite hard to be funny in that environment, or to maintain a positive outlook on life, or to be silly, or to be adventurous. Yeah, that made me very unfunny for a while, I think.
Did you get caned?
Yeah, I got caned. I got caned for forgetting homework. I mean, some teachers were insane. Some teachers, you get a cane for every mark you got under, say, 80% on the test. So if you got 75, you get 5 canes. If you got 30, we'll see you at the morgue.
So you said you sort of found you're funny again as a teenager. Was that just because you weren't getting caned anymore?
Yeah, I think the lack of physical torture helped me see the light side of things again. I remember it was at my boarding school in Brunei, which was a very great experience for me. It was the birth of YouTube, right? So YouTube was starting out. This must have been 2004, 2005, 2006. And people were sharing clips of a Canadian-Indian comedian called Russell Peters. But he was doing jokes about being Indian, but also about Chinese people and about all these different cultures and races he'd interacted with. And being at an international school, everyone was like, this is amazing because this is about all of us. And watching and realizing how thrilling it was and how fun it was for someone to be on stage talking about things people don't normally talk about. And also seeing like an Asian person doing it.
For the record, folks, I need to let you guys in on a secret. Indian people, we know what we sound like. You know what I mean? We know what the accent sounds like. We don't actually need you to remind us, all right? We know it's not a cool accent. You know what I mean? You're never going to see 2 Indian guys in a club going, "Hey man, don't we sound cool?"
And I just thought, this is really cool. This sounds really interesting. This looks interesting. This looks like quite a fun challenge. And then my drama teacher at school in Bath put on a comedy show called Club Haha. And the teacher put up like an ad for 5-minute open spots for any interested students. Honestly, it's like a scene from an American high school TV show. Like he was pinning it up and I was walking up to him to talk about the thing he was pinning up. And I said, "Do you have any spots left, sir?" And he said, "Yeah, I think there are a couple of seats in the audience left." And I said, "Oh, no, I want to perform." And he was like, because I wasn't funny. I wasn't a funny student. I wasn't a class clown or anything. I was very studious. And he thought, this guy's going to die on his ass. Should I step in here? Do I have like a paternal responsibility here to save this guy from humiliation? I saw him think about it and went, "Yeah, all right, yeah, okay. And he put me down for 5 minutes. And then I did the 5 minutes, mostly stolen jokes from Russell Peters, and I just swapped Indian for Chinese, but they still kind of worked. And it went well. It went okay. And that was my first ever stand-up gig.
Can you remember any jokes you told from that gig?
So I ripped off a Russell Peters routine about how the Indian accent isn't sexy. And so he says a bunch of sexy things in a very Indian accent. And I just did the same thing, but saying it's Chinese accent, not sexy, saying a bunch of sexy things in a Chinese accent, you know? Which is like, well, first of all, why is a student talking about being sexy in front of his teacher and other students?
Where's the first moment where you think, I can do this as a career?
The first moment I thought I could do comedy for a career, I think, was when I won the Chortle Student Comedian of the Year award in 2010. So Chortle is this comedy website, and for years they did a comedy competition for students. So if you're studying in any higher education in the UK, you can enter this competition. The year before me, Joe Lycett had won. A couple of years before that, Simon Bird was in the final. So, you know, it was quite clear that this was quite a good thing to get onto. So I joined in my second year. I got to the final in Edinburgh, and I won. And that was when I thought, okay, maybe I could do this as a career.
Do you remember any of your set from that?
I had a song on the ukulele because it was the noughties and everyone had to have a ukulele. I had a song on the ukulele about being a creepy guy, about creeping on a girl I fancied, but it was charming. I guess still in the same vein of my original set at school.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm not very good at doing the laundry. I used to have a guitar. I don't know what makes her tick. No matter how much I go through her bins and do to failure with her. But that one night we had was great. I touched her skin, I stroked her hair, and she didn't even notice I was there. I do to failure with her.
What was your worst gig?
There are a lot. A lot of the time it's just like gigs you should not have put in there. They shouldn't have done a gig there. I mean, the Yorkshire Accountancy Awards stands out to me. That wasn't ideal. Sometimes you do these awards shows for people and the room is not set up for comedy. So, you know, you get on stage, everyone's brightly lit, and there's a gap between you and the first set of tables because there's a dance floor for later on. Because we all know how good at dancing accountants are. And so you have this distance between you and the first row of people, and they're not expecting you. It's very hard to bring comedy to people who weren't expecting comedy. A lot of the time, it feels like you're interrupting their evening. Oh, I once threw a girl's phone at the wall.
You're going to have to explain that one now, yeah.
Yeah, it's a gig at LSE. This gal and a couple of friends were being really obnoxious the whole way through and talking through it, not interested in it, and being really disrespectful to the acts. And I was on and trying my best and getting annoyed with them. And then this girl went, "Excuse me, can you take a picture?" I said, "What? Can you take a picture?" And she handed me a phone. And I went, "Yeah, sure." Like that. And I took a phone and I said, "Get in. And then when they're all making the pose, I threw her phone against the wall. I gave her 2 middle fingers like Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I left and everyone cheered me. And her face was like this.
Did you ever see her again?
We're married, actually. We're married now. No, I never saw her again, no.
And I wanted to know if anyone's ever come up to you and tried to give you feedback after a gig.
People usually rarely have feedback. They sometimes have complaints. Yeah, I think I wrote about this story in my book. I did a gig early in our careers it was me, Pierre Novelli, and Nish Kumar. And we were all doing material about race. And it was a good gig. And then at the end, this guy came up to us and put his arm around us all and said, "Enough of the race stuff, hey lads."
I want to know what the funniest joke you think you've ever told is.
Oh, that's a good one. There's a joke I opened with for a long time when I was starting out, and it did very well for me. And I think I opened my Apollo set with it. It's funny. Apparently, if you look at me, right, and squint really hard, that's racist. It's a perfect opening joke. It's funny. It lays out who I am, and it addresses the elephant in the room, which is me being Chinese, which at the time was a real elephant in the room. Less so now. Oh, and my other one, which is in my Netflix special, which I think is one of my favorites. Have you ever done a fart so bad you lost the bar of Wi-Fi? I'm a fan of that one too.
If that's the favorite joke you've ever told, do you have one, just a favorite joke from a comedian over the years?
There's the Simon Amstel one I always quote whenever I go to play, which is he goes, "I went to play the other day. It wasn't very good. But then again, it was a play, so maybe it was good." Glenn Moore has a lot of great jokes. One I always think about is he has a deck of cards in his hand and he hands it out to the audience and he goes, "Pick a card, any card." He goes, "You like these? I bought them in Piccadilly, any dilly."
Obviously, you had a beef that you made with Tom Hiddleston.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day. Do you
have
still
a one-way beef?
Do you still feel that beef?
I tried to put Tom Hiddleston into Room 101 which I don't think is usually done. I don't think you're meant to put like alive people in room 101. And then after that, I made a video that went viral of I spliced up a vitamins advert he did, and I made it look like he'd broken into my house.
Hey, get out!
Apparently Tom Hiddleston has seen that video and thinks it's funny. Like maybe through gritted teeth. Yeah, I just thought it was a funny thing to have a real beef with an actor who has no idea who you are and will never care. But I've come to terms with Tom Hiddleston.
You said the world only needs 2 of the 3 out of Benedict Cumberbatch, Eddie Redmayne, Tom Hiddleston.
I think I said I only need 1.
Oh, one
out
of the
Benedict
3.
Cumberbatch, Tom Hiddleston.
So who are you keeping?
So it's Benedict Cumberbatch, Tom Hiddleston, and
Eddie Redmayne.
Eddie Redmayne. Same guys. I think I pick Cumberbatch. At least he's like a bit weird looking. The other 2, I can't even remember their faces.